It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch. Yeah, and I said,
welcome in on this All-Star Tuesday, July the 11th, 7-11. Ooh, you should be in Vegas now, J-Mo. J-Mo, by the way, was in Vegas over the 4th of July weekend and just absolutely racked up money at the sports bar. Is that true? Do you believe that or not?
Yeah, no, and I didn't win almost no money. I think I won $9 is what I netted at the sports book. Tell you what.
Wait. How much money did you have to spend to win $9?
I can't divulge this information over there.
Because you know why? Your parents
That's right. I'm afraid I've got family members listening to the show, so I don't divulge that information. However, sitting around playing blackjack, well, I've never lost money faster than sitting around. It was a great time sitting around with my family and my cousins and his friends and everything. But I've never lost money faster than I have.
I never win at blackjack at the casino. Never. I win at poker. Because, you're really playing against other guys.
Agreed.
Not necessarily the house. You can't beat the house.
No, you can't beat the house.
Crazy. But you did win $9 whole dollars. For a whole day's worth of activity at the sports bar.
But this morning, we're already winning money on Wimbledon tennis. So, who's the real winner here? I think it's me.
What would you have bet that the home run derby would draw almost 47,000 fans?
I would say pretty likely. I would say it's an exciting event for Seattle. They don't have. Well, I guess they got a football team. They got a National Football League. So what's a Major League Baseball All-Star game?
They got baseball, football, and hockey. What are you talking about?
Well, that's true too. It's a big
and
sports town.
They used to have basketball.
They did used to have basketball.
They had really good basketball for a while.
But the home run derby is exciting, and this new format is really exciting too. I love the tournament bracket. I think it makes it compelling every single round from the first round on. I mean, heck, you could bet on the first round winners yesterday too and go all the way through.
I got to tell you, when it first started, I loved it. I thought it was a cool deal. I'm not sure you could pay me to go see it now. I get bored. Well, I was watching a little of it on TV last night, and I'm going, what else is it? Is there something else I can watch? I mean, honestly, it just doesn't do it for me.
Is that right?
But 47,000 fans went to see it. I will say, it didn't start out with this speed with which they go. They got to have a timeout because they get tired.
Rosarena's first round, he was swinging too fast. He was just going way too fast. Just swinging. You could see he just got gassed by the end. And then he had to do another 30 seconds, and he was surprised because he had just given it all he had for the time that was allotted. You're right. They got to take that time out.
How about Julio Rodriguez? What do you have, 41
That's right.
in one stint? That tied, I think, a Rosarena's record of 41 in a single at bat.
And his odds shot up when he did that, shot up to win it all. But, if you bet on the hometown kid, you were sorely disappointed last night.
Well, yeah. But he's
the only person to have ever beaten Pete Alonso in a home run derby that has now knocked him out twice.
Right. In the same round, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah. And then I was glad for Vladdy Jr. because that's the first father-son combination to win.
That's something else, too. And his manager, the Blue Jays manager, was pitching to him, too, which I thought was really neat, too. Very rare, the manager, but he threw to him before he was the manager back in 2019, and you got to keep the same mojo going, I suppose.
I was watching, honestly, I was at a restaurant. I'm not going to give the name out because they're not sponsors. And I was watching with some Mets fans when Pete Alonso was up. And they were so mad at the pitcher because they just thought he's an older guy's name is Murphy. I guess he
was a replacement. It was supposed to be his youth baseball coach, and he had some kind of illness or something like that.
But this guy's an older guy, man. He ran out of gas. He was not giving him great pitches.
I saw a tweet that said the pitcher for Pete Alonso thinks it's Game 7 of the World Series or something like that.
He just couldn't find a spot. And look, that guy Murphy, gray beard, a little overweight, obviously not in the best shape, and it's not easy to do that,
No.
to deliver every pitch, and I think Alonso kind of wanted it inside portion of the plate, chest high, right? Isn't that where he wanted it? And he was low and away, and he couldn't find a spot.
He's trying to strike him out is the way it goes.
So I just was absolutely amazed at the crowd for the home run derby, and I really don't know the answer to this, but are they always that packed?
I've been to one in St. Louis, and it was certainly packed, but that's St. Louis, and it's more of a baseball town, I would think, than Seattle,
so you
maybe.
went to the home run derby?
I haven't been to a home run derby. Been to one in my life. Probably the
Wow.
only one I'll ever get to go to.
And you enjoyed it in stadium?
Oh, it was great. It was excellent. And back then, Chris Berman was still doing it, and what they do is they would
Put him on the PA?
and so you could hear the ESPN broadcast back.
I know. You know what? And I like Chris Berman, so I'm not putting him down at all.
Boomer.
But you can only do so many back. I mean, and I wish he had changed his approach a little bit because people got really tired of that.
You couldn't do that in the modern age either because, like you said, it goes so fast. You can't say back 41 times in an at bat.
No. So the home run derby was the smash, and the winner was Vladdy Jr. I'm happy for him and his dad. That was a cool story. And we got the game tonight. We'll be talking baseball with Tim Doolin. Final segment of this show. Hate to say it, but we saw this coming, and it happened even faster than I thought. But Patrick Fitzgerald gone from Northwestern. Fired. I'm going to try to get George Offman on the air, the Chicago sportscaster, who does a podcast. And I think last year, he's in his second or his third year doing this, he had Pat Fitzgerald on to talk about his success and turning the culture and everything of that at Northwestern. So he's the perfect guy to ask about all this. He also had the on his podcast, Fitzgerald's old boss, the AD, whose name escapes me at the moment, that was at Northwestern, who is now the commissioner of the ACC. Phillips, something? You'll get that, I know, quickly.
Yeah, James Phillips.
James Phillips. And none of those guys had any idea, of course they wouldn't have said it if they did, that there was a problem within the football culture. But you read the details of the alleged behavior that was going on in the Northwestern locker room, and you're going, really? That's a part of college sports in this day and age? Now, I know some former Memphis football players that said, there was locker room shenanigans with soap in the shower and back and forth stuff, not necessarily mean hazing, but they're young, they're 18 to 20-year-old guys, and they're messing around all the time, and they're with each other day and night for 6 months, and so I guess there's fooling around. I got to be careful the way I word this. I don't mean that in any form of sexual harassment sense, but there's, dumb stuff that you do, but nothing like was reported by the Northwestern football player. And I was a Pat Fitzgerald fan, but I don't think there was any other route the Wildcats and their president could take. Now, I think he looks bad because he initially said 2 weeks, and then basically public pressure forced him to fire Pat Fitzgerald. So now they're going to have the interim coach, or they're calling it the acting coach. His name is David Braun. He's the defensive coordinator. And if I were the president and the AD of that school, I would go, just for publicity's sake, to get this thing off the front pages, I would find myself a football coach.
Yeah, I don't think you want to go through the season with the same staff in place that was in charge. Even though you got rid of the head coach, pretty much everybody else that has a job at that school was in place while this stuff was going on. I think you're absolutely right. You got to get yourself a football coach as soon as possible.
Let me throw this out. I would go after a guy that's got a good rep, that has had recent success, that's likable. And I don't necessarily say you got to hire him for a long term, just a couple of years. I got the perfect guy. Not necessarily a college coach at the moment, but a winner who's been a college coach, who's in his 60s, so maybe he doesn't want to do it for a long term, who's not making a whole lot of money where he is, but he's been incredibly successful. Great with the media. How about Skip Holtz?
He was adamantly against going back to college, though, when he was asked about that a couple weeks ago.
I know. I heard that. But if you said to Skip, look, man, you got to right our ship. Just do it for a couple of years, and we'll pay you $8 million. Because that's what a Big Ten coach makes now, right? $4 or $5 million a year? And you're making, what, $250? That's about all you're making.
That's true. It's hard to say, but you have a lot more of the stressors of the thing he objected to was the recruiting and the NIL and the recruiting your own players and transfers and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess you could make a very easy argument that that's worth the money that you would be paid to do so, but that's still a lot of work. He seems like he's not too interested in doing any of that.
Who would not want $8 million for 2 years with a team that's already in place? And
I'm with you.
And you're in the Chicago market, and you who knows how you make business deals with that? You're setting yourself up for the rest of your life. You're already in your 60s, and you know what? He may already be set up for life. But that, to me, would be an interesting couple of years if you looked upon that in that mindset. And then, heck, if you're really successful, who knows how you feel about it all?
Even if you just have him come in there to get his own staff in there and just be the interim for this season while you set up another plan to get a head coach next year and pay him $8 million for 1 year. Heck, I mean, come on. You do that, then you go back to your USFL job the next season.
Our friend Brett Norsworthy, who knows college football as well as anybody, he throws out Dan Mullen. I
love it.
Mullen's done a pretty good job as a broadcaster.
I like that.
But,
Mullen.
you know, it sure did not work out well for him at Florida.
No, but he was so good at Mississippi State.
That feel good that I think Skip Holtz brings you.
Well, that's probably true, too. Not as much positive publicity, very recently negative publicity for Mullen. He has some negative publicity surrounding even his most successful moments in college. But, man, a great football coach. Mississippi State,
he's definitely
fairly
a good coach.
Mediocre. I don't want to say Mississippi State's mediocre. I'm not trying to say that. But just in terms of middle of the road, in terms of SEC success, and Dan Mullen took them to new heights. They're the number one team in the country for a period of time. Imagine what they can do to a middle of the road team, maybe more bottom of the road team with Northwestern in the Big Ten.
No, it's lower tier. But it used to be last, right? It's no longer the worst on a regular basis. I would think Mullen obviously would jump at that chance. But I think Northwestern needs to make a really positive move. And I understand this acting guy here, but you've got enough time because summer's just beginning, right? You've got enough time to get somebody in place for fall. I believe that. If you really are proactive about it. And if I were Northwestern, I would make the move. Although, you know, really and truly, Northwestern's never cared that much about athletics. They changed their culture a little bit in the last 15 years in terms of wanting to be at least decent.
NCAA tournament team a couple of years ago, I remember.
Well, it's the first time they ever made the tournament.
That's right.
Which is incredible to me, but it's true. And I would be proactive, and I would try to find somebody and not go with the defensive coordinator. Now, you do have the feelings of the players. Most of them liked Fitzgerald, right? There's a small faction that is happy to see him go. So you've already got a very discontented team. I don't know how many – I don't think you can enter the portal anymore, right? There's only windows that you could do that. So these guys can't even enter the portal.
I would imagine.
They can quit the team.
Yeah, after spring practice is done, I would imagine the portal is pretty much closed at this point.
There's a date that it closes. Check it out. But there's 2 windows now they've established, and they needed to do that so that you could you knew what the heck your roster was and what your needs would be.
It's been closed since April 30th.
Yeah, right after spring practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the Fitzgerald saga. DeAndre Williams, according to our friend Jason Munns, who has a very good relationship with Don Jackson, he is the lawyer for DeAndre Williams. He made it clear in some texts to Jason, who wrote about this, that all of the paperwork now on Williams is complete. And if you go by legal precedent, and even past NCAA decision-making, DeAndre Williams should be allowed back in. Now, all that paperwork was completed yesterday and sent to the university. It is now incumbent upon the University of Memphis, according to the way I read this story, for them to file that paperwork in a very accelerated pace, get it to the NCAA so they can make a decision. To be great if DeAndre could go on that Dominican trip. But if you get him in, now you're only waiting on Javon Quinterly. And I must confess, I don't know about this guy because he was here last Wednesday. It's Tuesday. Normally, although he hasn't, as Jason pointed out, he hasn't visited Auburn. He hasn't visited Miami. Those are the two other suitors, we think, that are in the thick of it. Both those programs probably have more money than the U of M. Miami, we know, has that crazy guy who pays everybody big bucks. What's his name?
John Ruiz. I don't know how I know that off the top of my head.
Well, because you're a Miami fan.
Apparently so.
I'm trying to remember, what does John Ruiz do?
He has I don't know.
Because he's got more dollars than cents.
Yeah, I don't know what he made his money doing, but I know he has this, a Life Wallet is the name of his business that fronts all of these NIL dealings. Life Wallet.
Life Wallet.
Uh-huh. I don't know what they do at Life Wallet, but that's the business that he has that fronts all of these NIL dealings.
So that's the collective.
That's right.
Okay.
But I don't know what he made his money doing.
Where's the business that he made his money in? That would be more important because the collective, that money is coming from that business. He probably has a few other guys that are given, but I think he's the guy.
Oh, he's an attorney, I suppose.
Is that what he is?
Mm-hmm. It says CEO, Life Wallet, and attorney at law.
Man, well, he's obviously had some big cases,
Clearly.
Some big settlements, because he is spending the bucks. But you would think that deal would be done, right?
For Quinterly, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. And you said those are the two.
To me, he was there last Wednesday. The longer this goes, I hate to say this because this kid is a piece that if they get him and Williams, they're a team that could make the Sweet 16. I think, on paper.
Yeah.
They'd be more talented than they were last year. I'm not sure there is a player as good as Kendrick Davis, but the second best player is the same player, a year older and a year better. And you'll make up for it with the depth because after Davis and Williams, really, there was no great player. There were some good role players. McCadden had his days. Kid that broke his hand hitting the wall. That kid had his days.
I can't think of his name.
A couple of his days.
But like
Demarie Franklin had a day or two. He came in late, but there was no really great player beyond those two. There's 5 or 6 in this group if you get Quinterly.
Was Kennedy the one that broke his hand?
Keontae Kennedy.
To your point right there, I'm not sure. Quinterly certainly isn't as good as Kendrick Davis. Kendrick Davis was an excellent college basketball player. So to that, and I would say the priority is getting DeAndre Williams back on campus. Quinterly is a great addition to have, but if you can get DeAndre Williams back, then you can figure out everything else you're going to do after that.
But if you get both, that's what I'm talking about.
That's huge. And another question mark, too, this whole Mikey Williams thing, when you talked yesterday.
I really don't see Mikey Williams coming. That
right?
Second delay until September the 8th, classes have already been on for 8 days.
But like Jason Munn said yesterday, he's not sure if he is able to still enroll in classes at that point, even with this going on.
But here's my point on that, and I agree with that, because I brought that up to Jason Munns, that there's no rule that says he can't come on campus because we do have presumption of innocence. And Munnsy has been checking to see what is the school policy on allegations. On a kid that has been charged with something, is there a rule within the University of Memphis that says until cleared, that person is not eligible to be on campus? I don't know. And I'm talking about that would be not for athletics. That would be for the whole student body. I don't know the answer to that, and I think he's been trying to get the answer to that. But if that rule does not apply and Mikey Williams was trying to come to to class in that scenario we just painted, why wouldn't he be here now? J.J. Taylor, his good buddy, is here now. He went to summer school.
Yeah, usually they would be here by now if they were going to be coming already.
So I don't know the answer to that. Speaking of guys that did come in the summer, how about Amani Bates yesterday?
Unbelievable.
So I am not a believer in Amani Bates, and I've said that before, so I have to point out when the kid proves me wrong, at least at this point in a summer league game. 21 points, 7-11 shooting. He helped the Cavs beat the Grizz last night in summer league, and they killed them. I think it was 100-77.
Killed them.
Did you watch the game?
I did. Had Cavs -5.5. Took it live at halftime, so I hate that I bet against the Grizz. But I was happy to see Amani play well, if for no other reason. I mean,
he was not the star of that game, though.
No, it was Sam Merrill for the Cavs was unbelievable. I think he set the record for the summer league.
Former Grizz, right?
Was he really?
I think he was.
But yeah, I think he set the record for made threes in a summer league game. But Amani shot the ball really well and moving the ball really well too. Moving himself really well. I think there was a few opportunities where he was kind of hunting 3-point shots and had the opportunity to back cut. They were just denying him the ball. But you got to feel good for right now for Amani Bates. He played really well yesterday.
As you've seen his game, all he did was catch and shoot.
No, he drove well yesterday, too.
Did he?
He did. He got to the basket a few times. Because they started hunting playing a shot.
Do you see him being an NBA player? Is he going to be a two-way guy?
Yeah, I mean, this year I don't know if the Cavs are a good basketball team, so I'm not sure he sees any minutes. This year, certainly a two-way guy, but I see a role for him in the NBA. I mean, not as highly touted, not as good of a college career even as like a Michael Porter Jr., let's say. But I don't see why his role couldn't be any different than that, being able to shoot the ball. Michael Porter Jr. has been a really bad defensive player. I could see Amani kind of struggling to play defense at the NBA level.
I don't see Amani Bates rebounding as well as Michael Porter Jr.
That's true.
I don't see him against the league, not the rookies. I don't see him getting into the paint because he's not big enough. Not at this point.
No, certainly not right now. I'd like to see him development with some NBA coaches, though. I really would. He was a little bit too young when he was here at Memphis.
No doubt.
And then he's had 1 year at this Eastern Michigan, isn't that right, is what it was?
Right.
So I'd like to see him with some pro coaches get some development. He's got a build that other people would kill for, So if he has some good development, he's got it going on.
I didn't realize this. I knew he had wingspan. Do you know what his wingspan is, according to the story I read today?
More than 7 feet, right?
8 feet 9 inches.
Good gracious. Yeah, no, he's got some intangibles that some coaches, if they get their mitts on him and he develops the right way, he could play a role in the NBA.
Crazy. That is for sure. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. A reminder, the summer clearance sale, hot and heavy right now. Help Family Leisure clear out the inventory. All do-it-yourself pools $1,000 off. 24-foot round pools, they're less than $2,000 right now. And select play gyms at $18.99. Patio furniture's up to 30% off. Clear it out at Family Leisure, I-40 and Whidden Road. One more thing before we take a break. This story on Chris Eubanks. Do you know who Chris Eubanks is?
Yeah, the tennis player, American.
He's an American tennis player, makes the quarterfinals. He's the only American men's player still in there. Madison Keys made the quarters in the women's side. And Jennifer Pegula, who's the daughter of the Buffalo Bills owner, she was up 3-1 in the third set and lost today. They had a delay to close the roof, and she's up 3-1, and she never recovered. We're about to get a major upset here. The Ukrainian Svitolina, who refused to shake hands with Azarenka, the Belarusian, and there was a big brouhaha. She just refuses to shake hands with any Russian or Belarusian.
That's right.
Right? And the fans booed Azarenka for not going to shake her hand, but Azarenka knew that Svitolina wasn't going to shake her hand, so she was like being respectful of it. Fans didn't understand it. They booed her when she went off the court. And Wimbledon says, we're not getting into shaking hand stuff. They're not even going to deal with it. But that same Svitolina, the Ukrainian, is about to upset the number one seed, the Polish player Swiatek. Svatek, however you pronounce it.
Broken her service twice.
She's up 5-1 here in the third set, so she should win, and that would be quite the story. I think she just had a baby 6 months ago or something.
Is that right?
Yes, Svitolina. So that is a terrific story. Our title sponsor, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where you can still get that Genesis G70 finance with the good folks at Genesis and get $1,000 off. Plenty of pre-owned cars. Ray Melton's gone, but they still have an incredibly efficient pre-owned car department where if you go in, you're looking for a certain car. If they don't have it on premise, they'll find it for you. That's the way they work. They take care of you. Right at the corner of Craft Road and of Highway 78, that's Lamar in Memphis. Very simply, they take care of you at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis. We pause for a second. When we come back, to Tampa we go, and our friend TJ Reeves, he is standing by. He comes your way next.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
It's your last chance to shop July 4th savings at Lowe's. Right now, save on select major appliances. And when you buy more, you save more. Get up to an additional $1,000 off select major kitchen appliances. Plus, right now when you buy a Craftsman V20 string trimmer or blower for just $99, you'll get a select Bear tool free. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Offers valid through 7/12. Appliance savings vary based on purchase amount. Buy more, save more. Valid on appliances $396 or more. While supplies last. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
There's only one place for great steaks, real Italian cuisine, Southern-style meats, and fresh vegetables. It's Fratello's. Fratello's Italian Steakhouse in Hernando has a family feel and a fantastic menu. Voted DeSoto's best new restaurant in 2022, Fratello's has your favorite cuts of prime steak, lamb, and pork, along with delicious Italian dishes. And nothing is better for lunch than Southern-style meats and veggies. All your favorites and more are waiting for you at Fratello's Italian Steakhouse, Highway 51 in Hernando.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Oh, man, has it been gorgeous the last couple days? Low humidity in the 80s. It's just outstanding. My man Ron Childers has told me it's going to get hotter and the humidity is coming back maybe as soon as tomorrow. I hope your air conditioning system is up to the task, and here's how you do it. You call Conway, 384-3511, 384-3511. The first step is to get your system in tune so that it's efficient. Saves you money on your MLGW bill, and it makes your system, and they're not cheap, last a whole lot longer. Mine's lasted 18 years. Incredible. I get that tune-up every summer. I get that tune-up every fall for the winter to make sure my heater is good. But in the summer, man, that's the most important. And it's just beautiful the way they do it. They come in, they're going to put those little shoe things on, those little slippers, so they don't mess up anything in your home. And they do 16 points of emphasis to tune up inside. Then they go outside and clean your units out there with all the dirt and the grime, the leaves, whatever. And then you're in great shape. 384-3511. It's preventative medicine. $69, the super tune-up from Conway. TJ Reeves in hot Tampa. Do you like the home run derby? I'm just curious. To me, it does nothing, but 47,000 fans went crazy last night in Seattle.
Always good to be with you on so many fronts, and it's been a couple of weeks. I know your vacation was good. We had July 4th on our Tuesday last week. So all good to be back. And we got so many avenues to travel. So first of all, there was obvious local interest in the Tampa Bay area because Randy Arozarena, one of the Tampa Bay Rays stars, was in the home run derby and made it all the way to the finals with Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Oh, he was great.
But look, I'm with you. I outlived the usefulness, and maybe we're just getting old, Wolo. Maybe we're just crotchety. Get off my lawn, guys. This outlived its usefulness like 15 years ago. It's the same
100%,
thing.
100% with you.
And by the way, they've even taken it a step further because there's nothing going on. I mean, capital N, underlined, nothing going on in the world of sports right now for these 3 or 4 days. Yeah, NBA Summer League, you can say, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with that, but okay. So with nothing going on, they showed for an hour the batting practice prior to the home run derby. I don't know if you saw this.
No.
And so I'm thinking, and I was ready to share with you and everybody else and all the other stuff I'm doing, is there a bigger, more worthless hour of TV before worthless TV than showing the warm-up batting practice for the home run derby of them trying to hit home runs before we now count for real with a timer on trying to hit home runs or number of pitches on trying to hit home runs? It just, again, it's outlived its usefulness as far as I'm concerned. And here's the other thing. We've talked about this on your show a couple of years ago, or maybe even last year, that you have injury concern coming out of this because if you watch the replay of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Randy Arozarena in the final like minute bonus round where they're swinging 50 times, 30, 40, 50 times in a minute,
I know, it's crazy,
trying to hit home runs,
yeah.
You are risking injuring yourself doing that. And now the game's for real, and what matters the most is in jeopardy because of what's just silliness.
But
again, maybe we'll get off our line.
But let me just say this. I'm in agreement with everything you've said, but I'll tell you 47,000 showed up, and I wonder what the TV ratings are. Hey, we've got breaking news here.
They're going to have a couple million people that watched it, and maybe more.
Breaking news.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Give us some breaking news.
The number one women's seed, the Polish player Swiatek, bounced by a great story, Svitolina, the Ukrainian player who, would not shake hands with the Belarusian Azarina, a big, crazy controversy a couple of days ago. I believe she just had a baby about 6 months ago. She, by the way, because Swiatek's Polish, she went there and they hugged at the net.
Okay.
So sportsmanship was had. But the number one seed for the women now out of Wimbledon in the quarterfinals.
And by the way, Jessica Pegula, the daughter of the owner of the Buffalo Bills, was winning in the third set. Looked like we were going to have an American not named Serena Williams in a semifinal of a major, which we would love to have because Serena's retired. And we got to say it, she blew it. She choked. She was up 4-1 in the third, and the Czech opponent came roaring back and beat her 6-4 in the third. So there we go in American tennis. There is an interesting American. There's an American male, Chris Eubank.
We just talked about him.
That's interesting. So let's see if he can hang in there, get to the semifinals, something like that. That'll be interesting because we care more when the Americans are there, obviously.
Right. Well, you still got a girl in the quarters in Madison Keys, so she could still get to the semis.
Yes.
But the Chris Eubank story, he's a kid, played at Georgia Tech. He's 27 years old. There's not many in the world making their debut at Wimbledon and have advanced to the quarterfinals.
Well, and I just saw something on his story. He tried 4 previous times as a qualifier to get into Wimbledon on the qualifying tournament and didn't get in 4 previous years. And he won an event recently, like in the last month or two, that got him in this time.
Right.
So it is a great story.
It was a grass court. He never won a grass court match until he won that tournament, okay? And now he's on a 9-game winning streak. 9-match, I guess that's right. 9-match winning streak. His number in the world now is up to 43. He started in June.
He's a lot of
June,
fun.
he was 76.
He's a lot of fun because he serves big and he plays to the crowd. He kept cupping his ear like Hulk Hogan to the crowd when he was winning. And he's really a little cocky, but you need that.
He's
you need
smart.
That.
He's a really smart kid. Have you heard him in the interviews? He's very articulate. He talks about tennis not being his all being like some of his fellow players, that he tries to be a good person. I mean, he said really interesting things. Unfortunately, I think his ride comes to an end because he's got the third seed Daniil Medvedev next. But I would love it for this. This guy, he would be refreshing for tennis if he were to win. Hey, there is another story that is in your wheelhouse that's going on today. The United States Senate investigating the PGA and the LIV deal.
Yeah.
And I saw you alerted me to this, so I went over to Golf Channel. They're doing like wall-to-wall coverage of this
Yes.
thing. Got Rich Lerner in Washington.
Yes.
And I can't remember the name. I think he's a Scottish. It's not Paul McGinley, but he's either Scottish or English or Irish. He's an older gentleman, and he was talking about when it really comes to this investigation, that the PGA, as we know it, is at peril legally. They're the ones with everything to lose. That the that the Saudis, the LIV, the Public Investment Fund, which we know as the PIF, that they have nothing to worry about. It was interesting to me to get that perspective.
Yes, and I think that is Paul McGinley. He's just gotten older and gotten grayer.
No. It was not. I know Paul McGinley. He's
okay.
on with Brandel Chambly. This is a different guy.
It may have been Eamon Lynch.
That's it.
He's been a big investigative reporter over in British media.
That's it.
And he's been after them. Okay, so here's the short version just for the audience because you've been going along doing the live show. So the hearing started about an hour and 15 minutes ago. And so sitting there are two of the architects of this ceasefire, and that's what it is. Ron Price, who's the chief operating officer of the PGA Tour, and Jimmy Dunn, who's on the policy board, have been testifying before a United States Senatorial Committee who's looking into this deal as part of whether or not it's going to eventually get approved by the government, by the Department of Justice, and there's many more layers to go. And the Cliff Notes version, not unexpectedly, Dave Woloshin, is they don't have a lot of answers on any specifics. Jimmy Dunn just said when answering one of the senator's questions, all we have here is essentially an agreement, the framework of an agreement to sit down and work out whatever this is going to be. We don't have specifics. So here, in bold, in a neon billboard, here is where it stands. This isn't finalized, this isn't approved, and they can't even explain what it is right now, other than, by their own admission again this morning before Congress, we had to do something or we were going to be greatly damaged and maybe on the verge of being out of business ourselves because they have more money, the PIF fund, than we do, and they were going to continue to raid golfers and continue the LIV Golf Series indefinitely and win out money versus money. That's what they have basically admitted over the last hour had to be done. But in terms of specifics, there aren't any. And we've got so many subplots because, again, you would have thought the PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan would be there. I will say to you that Ron Price, the COO, is an impressive guy sitting there trying to answer the questions. He's calm. He's mostly got his answers. He has not copped out with, I don't know, I can't tell you that. He's giving answers. But Monahan is slated to return after the British Open this weekend, next week, and we'll find out more, presumably, about what was the health concern, what's his role in the future, all post this hearing. So it's just interesting. And this hearing is going to go on, Wolo, apparently for hours and hours more. They're going to take a break, they're going to come back, and they're going to keep going. But I don't think you're going to get anything more definitive than what I just told you on they don't know what the new agreement really is. They haven't gotten that far, and they can't explain it to their own guys on the PGA Tour.
Well, if that is the case, why is this hearing taking place now?
They want answers. They want answers. In fact, one senator, just a few moments ago, the senator from Kansas, I don't know, I can't remember again off the top of his head. They're letting all of them have different Q&A 4 or 5 minute sessions. The one senator from Kansas said, okay, this simply boils down to power and money. Who's got the power now, who's got the money now, and who's lost out in this? And neither one of them really wanted to commit to an answer on, okay, we're in charge, so we sort of have the power, but they really have the money, and the money actually is the power. So that was just interesting in the back and forth. They're giving questions and answers about this, and you have there's questions right now being discussed because I can see it on my screen about the PGA Tour's tax-exempt status and whether or not that should still exist.
That is right. That's my next question to you.
So that's what they're grilling them on for the next few hours, and this is a preliminary thing. They're not going to bang a gavel and rule on anything or approve anything. This is a fact-finding thing, part of the process. There's the short version.
It's always interesting to me. What does Jay Monahan makes $15 million a year, right? Something like that.
Sure.
What is for profit? What is not for profit? Because you get the tax exempt status being not for profit, and I'm wondering in the end if the PGA's tax exempt status for being a nonprofit is in jeopardy once they find out all the particulars.
It may be. Well, they're trying to keep it insulated, and again, I know we're getting deep into the weeds. They're trying to keep it separate from what this new company is, but they don't have specifics on the new company, even weeks later, and it may not be for a while, and it may not ever happen. Stay tuned.
Wow.
Stay tuned.
So I took a vacation at 30A. That's, by the way, in Florida, although you call that Lower Alabama for whatever reason.
We just have fun continuing to trade the ball. We love our brothers and sisters in the Florida Panhandle. That's great.
Did you go to Cape Canaveral? Where did you take your kids?
I went over to Cocoa Beach on the East Coast, which is down south of Daytona, right by where Cape Canaveral is.
Okay, so that for you is Florida. You don't count.
That's the beach. That's the Atlantic. That's the Atlantic side. That's the beach. Those beaches are fine. Panama City, Pensacola, Destin.
What are you talking about? They're fine. They're beautiful. You can't find better
sand. They're just not Clearwater Beach. They're not Miami Beach.
No, they're
not
better.
Daytona Beach.
They're better.
Well, you can say they're better.
The sand is better. The water's clearer. Are you kidding me?
You're like the guy advocating for the steak at Golden Corral right now. Hang in there. There's better steaks at better places. You went and had a good time. I noticed I didn't get an invite to come up to the Panhandle and hang out for a day or two.
I got to tell you, I would say Golden Corral. I would say Ruth's Chris. For God's sakes.
But again, I reiterate, I did not get an invite to come out there and hang out a day at the Panhandle.
If I controlled it,
you apparently paid the same amount as an Oldsmobile for you to stay there, but I didn't get an invite.
If I controlled things, you would be the first invite I could have. All right, last thing, and I know you've talked to our friend George Hoffman, who I'm going to try to have on in the next couple of days. The Pat Fitzgerald story about the hazing culture at Northwestern. First off, do you wonder when you see that? Because Pat Fitzgerald was loved by his players, for almost all his players.
Well, right.
Vast majority. Do you think hazing like this takes place at most schools, some schools, all schools? I mean, that's one of the things that comes to my mind is this has been going on for a long time. It was going probably on with when Fitzgerald was a player there that carried over. Now, he took it a little too far, or they took it a little too far, based on some of the reporting that I've read. But I wonder how prevalent this kind of stuff is in college football culture.
I would say, just as a speculative statement, it is less and less and less. As the 90s became the 2000s, became the 2010s, and now the 2020s, you can't do this stuff anymore. Putting your hands on players anymore, that's not ever going to fly. And so whatever your opinion is, whether you approve or disapprove of it, it has been largely stamped out. But apparently it has been going on at Northwestern for a while. And the more we have learned in the last 72 hours, including on Monday with new revelations from the student paper at Northwestern University that has far outflanked anybody else, including the Chicago Sun-Times, the Chicago media, anybody else that's trying to cover this. It's bad. It is bad, and you have a president who stood behind Pat Fitzgerald and said 2-week suspension on Friday night when they were trying to do the news dump, who turned right around now and says it's my decision, he's fired, and he's fired for cause. And now you're going to have litigation with him trying to get his money. 2 days later, they've made the total 180 on this. But to answer your question, I think it's a lot less prevalent of it going on, just because there are so many safeguards and so many things that are now in place that oversee this. And what they were going to do is they were going to essentially have a locker room monitor moving forward that was going to not report to Fitzgerald in the football program, but report to the athletic director and above that. And, none of that's going to fly. So what a mess at Northwestern. And I keep coming back to one point on this. They've been awful on the field the last 2 years. If they had been 11-1 a year ago with the Big Ten TV deal coming, that makes it shouldn't be this way, Wolo. It shouldn't be this way. But that would have made a lot of difference on keeping Pat Fitzgerald or not. It's a lot easier to get rid of a coach 1-11 last year and 3-9 the year before that. He's won 4 games in 2 years. It becomes easier to make this move, and I'm sure that was part of it.
I agree with that, even though I think had become a pretty good fixture within the Chicago media,
and
was rather popular. But this stuff
you can overcome a lot of scandal and a lot of things if you're winning that you don't overcome if you're losing.
No doubt.
We know that.
Yeah, we do. TJ, as always, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday.
I always love getting with you. We'll see what happens with the Open, the British Open Championship, the golf on the course this week, too. We got all kinds of things happening. And the All-Star Game tonight, too. So
who wins?
A little bit going on.
Who wins, American or National?
The American League has always had the national. I mean, we were in the era of the 70s and the 80s when the American League could never win this game.
Right.
And now for the last 20 years, the National League can never win this game.
Maybe
it's the National League's turn tonight.
I think it is. Thank you, TJ. We appreciate it.
Hey, boys. Stay cool.
TJ Reeves down in Tampa, brought to you by Memphis Public Golf. Can't wait for Audubon. I go by there all the time, what they're doing there now. And I must say, I played Galloway yesterday. It's in incredible shape. And, of course, they're going to have the part of the Memphis Amateur Championship in just 10 days. The 21st is when it begins. Actually, that's right? Today's the 11th? Yeah, 10 days. That championship begins. We're in the middle of the Overton Park Junior Championship. They've got competitions. They've got free golf for youngsters. They've got very affordable golf for everybody else. The new Pine Hill is really something special. You got to go play that. So much going on with Memphis Public Golf. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Ken knows you're making a big financial decision. That's why he's going to work closely with you all the way to make sure you get what you should expect, which is quality building and on time, on budget. That's what they've been doing for 2 generations. Whether it's building a brand new dream home, whether it's finding land for you, whether it's utilizing land that you've got, you're not sure how to do it, he knows. Maybe it's a renovation. I call it renovation with innovation. You don't want to leave your lot. You don't want to leave your very comfortable home, but you want modern amenities. Nobody better than Ken to do that for you. KenGarland.com. Go see what I'm talking about, and then call Ken. He's fun to talk to. 751-1632. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. It is All-Star Tuesday. We talk All-Star Baseball. We talk a lot with our friend, our guru, Tim Doolin. He's next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Yes, some of my ads are pretty corny. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Ben Storff Realtors, also known as Shell Dunn. I recently had a listener tell me he didn't like my ads. I thanked him for his opinion and sent him an analysis package of the value of his home, which probably shocked him. I believe in good service, which today is often rare. And in selling homes for so many years, I have found that I do sometimes shock people more often with my bottom line honesty. So if you're thinking of selling your home, which is often someone's biggest investment, talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure that I am one of them. Find out why people often say that when you want the job done, call Shell Dunn at 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. And if you don't like my ads, change the station. Oh, no, don't do that. Keep it right here and send me a note to complain at memphisrelocate.com or call me at 483-0546 and ask for Mr. 3-Putt. Thank you for listening and go Tigers.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
You don't plan for a computer virus. You don't plan to lose files. You don't plan to knock your laptop off the counter. And you don't plan for your PC to crash or your screen to freeze. But Staples has a plan. A plan for unlimited virus protection. A plan for help when you need it 24/7. Staples Total Support Plans are your tech plans for the unplanned, starting as low as $199.99. And although you didn't plan for this, right now at Staples you can also get $250 off select computers. N729 in-store only. See associate for details.
Memphis's oldest restaurant, Coletta's, was established in 1923 to give Memphians the best Italian food possible. I'd say they got it right. They are the creators of the barbecue pizza. It was Elvis's favorite, and I know for a fact that a large will feed one person all weekend. If you need to feed several, though, Coletta's caters any event. Choose from homemade lasagna, ravioli, Alfredo, primavera, and so many other delicious items you can't help but enjoy. Impress employees or clients and treat them to Coletta's for lunch or dinner. Plan ahead and get your holiday party booked at Coletta's. Elvis's favorite place to go eat with his buddies at the South Parkway location, and Coletta's even has an Elvis room dedicated to him. Call Coletta's on South Parkway at 948-7652 or Appling Road at 383-1122. Coletta's. It was Elvis's favorite, and it should be yours too.
Coletta's, now celebrating 100 years of Memphis' best Italian food.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
It is All-Star Tuesday. That means we got to talk baseball with our guy. That's Tim Doolin. Favorite All-Star memory, Mr. Doolin? What would that be?
I don't know. I mean, I always watched the All-Star games, but really the only one that I can remember that was like super exciting, and it came. And I used to love watching Pete Rose play the game. He played the game like nobody else has ever played it. And so I guess it was that game when he ran over Ray Fosse. Kind of tragic for Ray, but nonetheless, it was,
his career.
I think it really did. And we talked off the air. I think the biggest thing that I enjoy mostly about the Major League All-Star Game is that of all the All-Star games in all the sports, it was one that was played to win versus just kind of a show. And even now, the baseball side of it's gotten a little bit diluted in that regard. But, yeah, that was probably my favorite one, Wolo.
I think that's my second most memorable moment because that is when they played the game to win. And that's exactly what Rose did when he bowled over Fosse, who was never the same. But my favorite one is actually a good memory, and that was 69 when the entire Cubs infield, Ron Santo at third, Don Kessinger at short, Glenn Beckert at second, Ernie Banks at first, all made the All-Star game. That was super.
It's almost like this year's All-Star game with the Atlanta Braves
exactly.
having 8 guys on it. Unbelievable.
It is.
It really is. It's amazing on another topic. It's amazing what that front office has done by locking up all their young players and have control over them for like the next 6 or 7 years. It's a remarkable job. And for the most part, all those guys got really, really fair and good contracts.
Speaking of remarkable, and I know we did not talk about this earlier, but I got to bring it up because you don't see this very often, like every 50 years, where a guy steals second, third, and home, 3 bases on 2 pitches, which is what Ellie De La Cruz did, the rookie for Cincinnati. That's pretty amazing. Hey, this guy, they've won 23 of 30 games since he came up.
Well, let me tell you something. This guy was not even a big-time prospect until probably a year and a half ago. I mean, he had signed early and obviously had a lot of tools, but this guy's figured it out. And one thing that's unique is we talk about how fast he is, but this guy's got generational talent. I mean, his bat speed, he's got true raw power. Obviously, we know about the speed tool, but this guy, it comes out of his hand like at 104 miles an hour. He can really defend, obviously has a clue and a really good clock on knowing and being instinctive on the bases. There's lots of guys that have played over the years that are really, really fast, but if you don't have instincts and a feel for it, it's hard to turn those into stolen bases. So Cincinnati's making a turn. They had a really, really good draft yesterday and the day before, and I'm sure they'll get some more guys today. the third day of the draft and the final day of the draft. So, yeah, he's an electric player, Wolo.
I'll get to the draft in a second, but since you mentioned bat speed, the bat speed of Vladdy Guerrero Jr., who won the Derby, Randy Rosarina, the hometown hero, Julio Rodriguez, who had 41 home runs in one of those sessions.
The first round.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. 47,000 on hand. They went crazy for it. But I don't know, both myself and TJ Reeves for that matter, and we all love baseball. I just, to me, I'm over the home run derby, but, maybe most people are not. Where are you on that?
I'm okay with it. I think they've done a pretty good job of the PR and the marketing and all that. I would say last night's was somewhat a little bit of a disappointment because you had the most exciting round was the first round where he hit 41, and then it kind of got weaker as the day went on. So I think it's a good event. Obviously, 47,000 fans enjoyed it, and but tonight should be a really, really interesting game, and I think baseball is actually making some headway and trying to do a better job of marketing their brands, not just in the United States but on a global stand.
Since you mentioned the draft, Paul Skeens, the power pitcher for LSU goes to Pittsburgh 1. Dylan Cruz, the power hitter for LSU, went to Washington in the second pick, 1-2 from the same school. Who won the draft in your mind?
I tell you, it's hard to say right now, but I think the Reds have had a great draft. The Marlins actually have had a great draft. I think the Pirates did the right thing in taking a generational arm who I believe is ready for the big leagues and will be in the big leagues at some point this year.
Wow.
Yeah, he's not just a guy that can throw 100. He's very polished, commands 3 pitches, very mature, very physical. I think they'll probably ease him into it because he did have a long spring season for LSU as they went on to win the national championship. But so yeah, it's been an interesting draft to say the least.
How did the Cards do? How did the Cubs do?
I think they did okay. I mean, there wasn't anybody really on MLB Now that was just ecstatic about their drafts, solid drafts. But the draft has been reduced from what it used to be 50 rounds down to 20 rounds, and so there's a lot of jockeying going on. A lot of college players signing for under slot value so they can get as many players as they can and possibly steal some guys, some high school type players in the later rounds and overpay those guys.
All right, and finally, who wins the All-Star Game tonight? Not like the old days when Rose bowled over Fosse. They don't quite care as much. But the American League, which has been on a run here like the National League was years ago, the American League minus 110 in the betting, so they're the favorites. Who do you think's going to win tonight?
It's flip a coin for me. I really don't care. But for some reason, my gut tells me I'm going to go with Mookie Betts in the National League tonight.
I think so, too. Happens. I think because they're due. That's what I think.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
A local boy that everybody knows just got promoted to Double-A. Blaze Jordan was having a great year. Was hitting about 325 in High A. Got promoted and will be in Double-A starting. He's actually home for a couple of days during this All-Star break, and then he will head to Double-A. He's only 20 years old, so bright future ahead of him.
Where does he go? Double-A? What team?
I think it's Portland, Maine.
Portland, Maine. Wow.
Yeah.
Little chilly there.
Yeah, but not chilly now, but it's definitely still
right.
in the early spring for sure.
Well, everything's wacky now, so who the heck knows? Thank you, my friend. We'll talk next Tuesday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Wolo.
That's our man on baseball. That is Tim Doolin. He's brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team, much like Tim was a great Tiger. Matt Eflin's a great Tigers supporter, and his team, they will take care of you in a collaborative way. That's how they do insurance. They get to know you. So they'll know your family. They'll know what your important things to protect are. They'll sit down and talk with you. They'll figure out your budget, and then they'll find the perfect program for your auto, your home, life insurance too. They do the same thing with commercial insurance. That's right. If you've got a small to mid-sized business, they're all over it. They'll get to know you, your employees, your product, how you forecast it out, what your budget is, and then they protect you. All you got to do is make this call, 901-386-4777. That spells out GUR because they're big Tiger fans. Again, 901-386-4777. That's the Eflin Insurance team. That'll do it for us. Johnny Radio comes next. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
Moving is stressful, but